Hi, I'm Katie from Oddkin Studio, and today I'm making adorable outfits for Oddkins. This is my Dungarees and Pinafore pattern, which is a fancy word for overalls and a little apron style dress. And this is the same pattern. The only difference is whether you decide to create legs at the bottom or you can just leave the hem and it's a dress. Everything else is the same, and we've got this cute little gathered back and crisscrossy straps, and then little buttons on the front and a cute little heart pocket. So let's get sewing. I think this pattern works best with wovens and anything that doesn't have a lot of stretch to it. I love to use a thin denim or linens that are left over from making clothes for myself. I'm afraid of knits, so I don't recommend you use knits, but if you wanted to and you know how to do that, then you do you. The first thing we're going to do is cut out all of our pattern pieces. Notice that the front and back pieces are cut on the fold. So you're going to fold your fabric in half and pin the pattern to it and just cut around that edge. So there are 2 body pieces and then 2 straps and a pocket. Once you've got all your pieces cut out, we're going to go over to the iron and we're going to start pressing everything. So the straps get folded once and you're going to make a nice crisp fold there. And then you're going to fold the edges in towards the center line, and those are going to get enclosed to make a nice thin strap. So if you want a wider or narrower strap, you can change the width of this strip. You just want it to be 4 times as wide as the strap that you want in the end. Now we're going to fold over the top edge of the pocket towards the back side about 1/4 inch and press it, and that's going to create a nice clean crisp edge. We're going to do the same thing on the top part of the back piece and also on the front piece. And if you're making the overalls or dungarees, you're going to want to make a little mark here. It could be either on the front or the back piece. On the wrong side of the fabric, you're going to make a little cross here, and that'll help you know how far to go up when we're sewing the leg. Now we're going to fold over the top edge of the front piece towards the back again, and you're going to want to cut a little notch here to help that fold down. And we're just going to give everything a nice press, and then we're going to head over to the sewing machine. Now we're going to sew 1/4 inch seam all the way around those nice folded crisp edges. And it's okay that there's going to be a raw edge on the inside. These are doll clothes, so we don't need to finish them as perfectly as we would real clothes for humans, because they're just not going to get that much wear and tear. At least mine don't. If you want to do a more finished edge or a serged edge here, be my guest. If you think they're going to get taken on and off a lot, then maybe that's a good idea, but I don't really bother because my creatures tend to be more for display. And we're going to do the same thing for the pocket top and also for the back. And then for the straps, you can go all the way down and then back up to make a nice symmetrical seam on both sides. I like to do just a little turn at the bottom. The strap is way longer than it's going to need to be, but we just have extra so we can fit it and trim it later. Now we're going to go back to the ironing board and fold the other edges of the pockets in and press those so that we have nice clean edges on that adorable little pocket. I like to use pins in the corner to kind of help me fold everything and also to help me not burn my fingers. And you can trim those little top corners too. This is also when you want to do the heart or whatever applique you might want to do on the pocket before you sew it onto the front of the outfit. And you can machine sew or hand sew those on however you want to do it. We're just going to go around the edge. Once we've sewn the heart onto the pocket, we're going to pin it onto the front, and you can use the paper piece as a guide to help you place it. And I like to put 1 pin in each of these little corners. Now we're going to sew it onto the front, and make sure you do a nice back stitch a couple times here on the corners to make them extra strong. And then we're going to just go around that edge carefully. I like to sew it pretty close to the edge here. Now we're going to place our front and back pieces right sides together and line up those side seams. And we're going to sew down the side seams with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. If you're making the dungarees, now we're going to create the legs. And from this little notch, we're going to cut right there, straight down. And then we're going to sew in a curved line around the edge of that with about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You don't have to draw on it, but I did just to kind of show you what we're doing. We're just going to sew around that little curve, and then we're going to cut up to that notch. You're also going to want to reduce a little bit of the bulk here and clip into the corner carefully so you don't get too close to the seam. And this will help a little bit with the bunching right there. And then we're going to give it a nice press just to get everything all relaxed and smooth right there, because it just wants to bunch up around that curve. Steam helps a lot here to relax that seam. Now we're going to do our waist gather on the back side only. I like to do this to help with the back being kind of gapey, but it's an optional step. For this we're going to want a big stitch length, so I use a 4, and we're going to keep the tails long. We're not going to do a back stitch, and we're just going to do a gathering seam along that back edge. And for gathering, if you've never done gathering, you want the tails to be long. And the reason we don't do a back stitch is because then we're going to go in and gently pull on the bobbin side of the thread, so the back side of the thread, and just kind of start to gather everything together. You do want to make sure you're using a really strong thread. Check that you can't break the thread easily before you choose a thread to do a gathering stitch, because it's annoying when you break it. On big garments, you usually do 2 rows of gathering stitches to help with this, but I don't really bother. I can get away with 1 on this little tiny garment. And then I'll tie off those 2 threads to just keep them where I want them. Then we're going to put them on the Oddkin, and we're going to figure out where we want the little crisscross in the back to be. And this is aesthetic, but it's also kind of dependent on where your creature's shoulders are and just how you want it to fit. So we're going to pin that down, and then we're going to sew a line of stitching back to the normal stitch length. We're going to do a seam all the way down the back, which is going to secure both the straps and the gathering stitches. So just a regular seam with a back stitch straight across over the tops of all the gathers. It's going to feel a little bit weird, but it'll look fine. And if you want to take out that gathering stitch row, you can, but I tend to leave it because I'm lazy and it's not really that visible. Now we're going to hem the pants. So I like to try it on the Oddkin first and figure out how short I want to make them. It can be cute to do them really short, like kind of a onesie. So I just fold it once, and then I fold it a second time up to the length that I want it. And I'm going to pin them in place. This can be a little difficult on the sewing machine. It's definitely doable, but it's just kind of fussy because they're pretty small. So you just have to be careful to not accidentally catch the other side of it as you're sewing. I like to do it with the hem side, the inside facing me, so I can see where that edge is. And then you're just gonna go around in a circle. But this is pretty fussy on a sewing machine, so if you want to just sew these by hand, that's also an option, and that is also very cute. Now we're going to try them on the Oddkin, and we're going to cut the front straps to the right length. It's okay that the edges are raw inside, unless you really want to finish those. I really don't worry about it. And then you can sew them on with a button. And the button is just aesthetic. It's not a functional button. It's just cute. And that's it for the dungarees. If you want it to be a pinafore dress, you can just leave the leg steps out and then just sew the hem line up to where you want. It can be cute to add a little lace or a little ruffle. So that's it. I hope you had fun making these. I hope this video was helpful, and I hope I get to see what you made.